Well, you've finally done it. You've watched every single video there is available on YouTube, and out of sheer desperation, decided to tune in for Page Bait. That's right, this is the show where I take a look at the first three pages of some of the most popular books that I know nothing about and give you my unfiltered reactions, because we know there's not enough unfiltered opinions on stuff on the internet. Anyway, today the people have once again spoken, and we're going to take a look at a book called Tidespeaker. Tidespeaker. First thing I will say is once again, this has a beautiful cover. I'm loving the purple and the purple highlights and the blue color palette. It's pretty, it's unique. I'm here for it. Good job. Good job, cover designer for this book. Probably it's because it's a young adult book, I think. Again, I do basically no research before I read these. And I tend to see that middle school and young adult stuff have way more interesting covers than adult stuff because we're adults, we have to pay taxes, we have to go to work, and we don't get interesting covers. This is just our lives. Let's take a look at the preview here. We got three different title pages and dead. Ooh, that's a pretty map. I really like the artistry that went into this book. This is a very pretty book. Good for you. Good for you, graphic designers who put this thing together. Let's dive into chapter one here. The last day of summer and my 18th birthday found me suspended upside down in a tank of water. That's dangerous. It was hardly the coming of age I'd hoped for, but no one celebrated birthdays on Arbenha. Here, all days are filled with the same three things: training for our service to the queendom of Nemenor, history lessons on why that was the only life fit for us, and, far more frequently than seemed fair, practical examinations testing our control. All right, so once again, we have a teen young adult who is being sort of forced to go into training for serving a country, kind of like we had in Fourth Wings and or Hunger Games where she was reaped. So let's see what happens here. Although I give them credit, the fantasy names for places in this are easier than most. I'm not seeing just a string of consonants. I'm seeing some vowels, not too many. Nemenor, I think. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We can do Nemenor. That's fine. That's good job, fantasy name person. Today, I was facing one of the last. The flutters of panic I'd been feeling all morning intensified as I blinked through the water at my classmates. Their blurry figures, weirdly inverted, were lined up along the walls of a hexagonal chamber, and I knew every one of them would be smirking at the tank, hoping to witness my spectacular failure. I was the only floodmouth being examined today, and I'd never been tested like this before. So is that like a superpower, floodmouth? You can breathe water or something? Let's see. This ordeal was reserved for our final year, for the day we turned 18 and were deemed ready for service, and the pressure of all eyes fixed on me was almost worse than the pressure of the water. As my heart hammered out the failure beat that always accompanied anything new or unexpected, I felt the telltale burning in my lungs and knew that that in about 60 seconds I'd be drowning. Okay, so she can't breathe water. She's just really good at free diving, I guess. Perched in the gallery, like a row of roosting vultures, were the instructors who had come to oversee my exam. They hadn't bothered to heat the water, of course, and it chilled my skin as I wriggled in my restraints. I knew they would all be watching closely. Better performance at institutions like Arbenha mean better positions out in the queendoms after graduating. I can't read today, apparently. I was acutely aware that poor or even mediocre results would mean serving out the rest of my years doing something dangerous or downright horrible, protecting the harbor builders down south, irrigating flooded farmland, clearing the sewers in the cities out east. It didn't help that one figure was conspicuously absent from the room, a person whose attendance would have made this much easier. Oh no, does she have a workaholic mom and dad? For a decade, Xenia, my only friend. Oh, no, it's just a friend. Okay. Her mom and dad, they're probably dead. This is a young adult book. Her parents are dead. Let's be real here. Xenia, my only friend at Abenha, had been a stalwart presence in these echoing chambers. Her steady brown gaze, as familiar to me as my sister's, the anchor I needed to remind me I could do this. But a month ago, my friend, my anchor, had been whisked away after her own final exam to serve some noble family on the coast. YA books and you're abusing of the youth? What are you doing? I knew the chamber outside the tank would be silent, perhaps only the scuff of a slippered foot breaking the quiet, squeezing my eyes shut as I tried to feel out the water. After 10 years in this place, the water we practiced with, drawn from the mountain springs outside the complex, was nearly as familiar to me as Xenia was. But today it seemed im implacable, almost haughty. Without Xenia, I felt like a shipwrecked sailor. Since she had left, I'd struggled through our practicals, slogged through our lessons, but this was new. My fear was snowballing, and the water coldly cocooning me, seemed to know it. There were only two things that could render us. Orha useless. Orha Laconite stone and emotions. We got some kryptonite. We got some exposition here. It's gonna be important later. Strong emotions. I needed to wrest control of mine, or my eager classmates would get what they hoped for. They want you to drown because they hate you, because they're bad people. Why are in fantasy books is everybody bad people? I knew what my friend would have willed me to do. Had she been out there in the line with them, I watched. I forced myself to clear my thoughts, to ignore the cold pressure, the unfurling fear, and tried to picture my emotions in my mind. It was a trick Xenia taught me nearly 2 years ago, when I'd floundered in one of our eighth year tests. Since then, it helped me impress the instructors, but I wasn't sure it would save me today. What do your feelings look like as an image? Mine always looked chaotic, even frightened, and sure enough, they burst into my mind's eye like a firework. A shivering scarlet ball of panic, bolts streaking out of the black like lightning. Squeeze it, shrink it, smother it to nothing. That's healthy. Just repress. Her words came back to me as I grappled with the ball. The idea was to slowly force it inward, mentally crush it to the size of a pinprick, but all I could see, overlaid upon it, was my friend's sad smile as she was led away. So sad. Seconds passed. My body shook. The need to breathe was like hunger, starvation, a burning torch held close to my skin. Here's the question, folks. You know I only read the first 3 pages, so is she gonna pass or fail in this next, like, 2 paragraphs? Are we gonna find out, or are you just gonna have to read the book yourself to find out? Because I don't know. I didn't have long. I needed to control this, but in my head I could only relive Xenia's exam, the sight of her hanging serene in the tank, black hair scrunched and tied into bunches. Stop thinking about stuff. We've only got like a paragraph and a half left to see if you pass this, lady, okay? And we're not going to find out because you keep going on brain tangents, woman. The glint of light on the brooch I'd given her for her own 18th birthday fastened tight to her blouse. She'd excelled, of course, flown through it with ease, since we'd all been thrown together in Abenha, having passed the test that granted us entry, and a route to the best possible service placements after graduation. Xenia had surpassed the rest of us in practical after practical, and many of our classmates disliked her for it. Well, that and the fact that she refused to dislike me, the watchful one on the periphery, who could never seem to say the right thing. Well, sorry, folks, we're 3 pages in, and we never know if she suffocates or not. But this is page bait. Don't expect to be satisfied by watching this. You could have watched anything else on YouTube. Anyway, judgments on this book? I don't know. The writing's good. We get right into the action. Yeah, I don't have any major issues. I'm glad the main character, she has a friend that she cares a lot about, so that's very good. As I say, authors they have to have something that the main character cares about sincerely, besides themselves and their own angst. And this author has passed that test. So I guess if you want to find out if she drowns or not, then you're just gonna have to go get the book and read it yourself because I'm not gonna do it for you. And you'll just have to let me know how things turn out for our main character. But but good job, Tidespeak author. I have no major issues with your first 3 pages. I need more information. Good for you. I'm hanging on a cliffhanger here. Anyway, if you found this insightful or useful in making your book purchasing decisions, then I am absolutely shocked. But anyway, if you enjoy this nonsense, you can go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you want, or subscribe to some more entertaining channel, I don't know. Until next time, happy reading.